Hey guys, Chris from Pro Obese Audio Installation, and today we're doing a radio arm replacement on this 2011 Chevy Traverse. In this install, we're going to show you how to pull out the factory radio and wire up a new one in its place. Let's get started. Now in this install, as we get this pulled apart, just a couple of things to note for this video. This Traverse does not have any steering wheel controls. It does have cruise control, but no functionality to control the radio on the steering wheel. We also do not have Bose. Now if you do have both of those items in your install, we'll post down in the description the alternate harness that you'll need in order to retain both the steering wheels and the factory Bose system. So the first thing we need to do to get this radio out is remove these side panels here. Now because they have a little bit of a lip, you can use a panel tool, or you can just safely use your fingers. Now we just need to kind of pop that out. Now there's a little tab here at the top that should just slide on out. And just as easy as that, it comes on free, which is pretty fortunate. Now we don't necessarily need to disconnect much here, just because we have the space needed to go ahead and get to the 4 screws up and around the radio. A 7mm or a 9/32 usually works the best, and we can quickly pull that out. Okay, so with those 4 screws removed, you can now pull this on out. Now it's probably a good idea to check to make sure you don't have any discs still left in it. Now as you pull this on out, oh, it looks like this has been modified before. Look at that. We may need to button this up a little bit more. But at this point, you just need to press those harnesses and disconnect them here. And once you do so, also you can disconnect your antenna. And if you have any other harnesses to make that disconnection as well, and then the stereo comes free. Now we can put this off to the side, and let's go ahead and head over to the bench and show you what parts we'll need for this install. Okay, so here at the bench, the parts that we're going to need for this install. First and foremost, the customer has decided to go with this budget-friendly dual double-DIN Bluetooth radio with the touchscreen here. This will take its place of the factory radio in the dash currently. And in order to accommodate that in the dash, we need a dash kit, which we're using the Metra 95-3305 for double-DIN radios. To wire it up to the factory wiring, we're using this LC-GMRC-LAN-01. This does not retain Bose or steering wheel volume controls or anything like that. Super basic harness. Now again, if you have those features from the factory, we'll post here in the video the alternative harness that makes that possible. And then finally here, the antenna adapter we need is the Metra 40-CR10. So very basic parts here. What we're going to do is get the radio out of the box. It comes with the wiring harness, which will match up to our aftermarket vehicle specific wiring harness. We're going to solder everything up color for color, and we'll get the radio into the dash kit. Okay, so we've stripped both ends here of our harnesses. This one came with our radio. This plugs into the back of the radio, and we stripped the ends off this one, soldered it up to our wiring harness adapter, the Axxess wiring harness adapter. And then from this point, what we're going to do is match up color for color, and as you saw, we just went ahead and soldered that one. Now before we started making those soldered connections, we put heat shrink on our wires, just so when we're all done, we can move the heat shrink up and over the connections there, and we'll shrink them down with the heat gun. So we're going to continue through this, matching color for color, and go to that point. Okay, so we went through and matched basically 90% of the wires here, color for color, and we soldered everything together. Remember, we put heat shrink on this bottom here just so we can scoot them up and over our connections before we shrink them down with the heat gun. A couple of special connections to note. So most of your wires, your whites, your grays, your greens, your purples, your speaker wires, with their corresponding black wire, those match color for color. Accessory matches color for color here, but just be careful. Every once in a while you'll be tripped up by the manufacturer choosing a different wiring pattern. And for example, the Axxess side is light green for the parking brake wire, but on our radio it's pink. Sometimes it's different colors too. Our reverse gear trigger wire on the Axxess side it's green purple, but on a radio it's just solid orange, and on occasion even solid orange could mean illumination, so I always got to double check there. And then the illumination on the Axxess side and the orange is actually the orange black on our radio side, so always double check the wiring colors of your radio as well as the wiring colors of your harness adapter, just so you don't guess wrong and create all kinds of issues in your vehicle. So at this point, let's go ahead and move our heat shrink up and over connections, and we're going to shrink them down with the heat gun. Now, just to kind of finish things off here, we could put zip ties, but we're actually going to wrap it in some Tessa tape just to give it a professional finish and also protect the wires inside the dash. Okay, so we got our harness all prepared. This end plugs into the car. This end will plug into our radio. This is for steering wheel controls, which we don't have, so we'll just zip tie that there. And we left our remote turn-on wire out and about just in case down the road we need to have access to that wire. So this is good to go. Now let's head over to working on our dash kit, which will basically go right up and over the radio. Okay, so we got the dash kit on, basically 2 side plates, get the screws in, it's all good to go, make sure it's all even. Our harness is ready and our antenna adapter. Let's head over to the car and get everything installed. Alright, so we're here back in the car. Now I went ahead and actually repaired the harness here. We resoldered everything up, removed the home electrical connectors, which should never be in a car. Soldered, heat shrunk, and then rewrapped the harness so it's back to was once originally. We plugged our harness into it. Now they're keyed differently, so you can't get them backwards. So plug your harness adapter into those plugs. For your antenna adapter, same thing, should clip right on in, just like so. And that's about it. We don't have any other connections to make for this version of radio. So what we'll do is plug in our connections behind the radio, and we just had the 2. So what we're going to do now is just get everything back in the dash here. Okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to do a test before we button it up, make sure everything's working. Okay, we got static, that's good.
By student research and their own preparation.
Perfect, everything's working, that's great. We'll do a final test here at the end, but let's go ahead and get the remaining screws in. Take our harnesses back in here. Okay, clip it all back into place. Let's go ahead and do a final test. Perfect. That's about it for this install. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. Thanks guys for watching the channel. Be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. We post great content all the time here on the channel. And we will see you in the next video.